What is up, everyone? Welcome to Heroes Avenue. My name is Darren, and today we have a few topics to talk about today that came out on Friday. But first, make sure you hit that subscribe button below. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Heroes Avenue, where I'm trying to get more active on Facebook, but we are active on Instagram, so definitely check us out there. So yeah, first I want to talk about this Black Adam story with The Rock. So this movie has been in talks for the longest time, and I think it was all the way since like 2010, 2011. I think it could even be even earlier, honestly. But this is almost gonna hit a decade of being in talks, and now we're hearing it again because of the Shazam movies coming out soon, and The Rock's production studio called 7 Bucks had an interview, I think, on with Variety, and they gave a little update of what's going on with the script. And basically, they are still developing the script, and they are in the polishing phase, and they are set to look for a director soon, and they are hoping to shoot for 2020 for a production date. So at least they have a date down. I think they've had a date down before, but I feel like this 2020 day it feels a little bit more promising, just because DC is finally getting their foot back together, and this Shazam, all the talks with Shazam movie is really positive, and I'm sure that's like building more momentum with the Black Adam movie. And so I'm super excited for this. I think they are gonna hit that 2020 mark. I don't think it's gonna get delayed anytime soon. I think we are gonna see The Rock play as Black Adam very soon, maybe in 2022. I think it's probably gonna hit in theaters at that time. But yeah, I think that's really great. Since they are looking for a director, I think a good director would be someone that has experience with action films and has experience with working with The Rock. So I looked at David Leitch. He's directing Hobbs and Shaw right now, and that's featuring The Rock, right? And so this guy, David Leitch, he's also worked on Deadpool 2 and John Wick, and he has a long list of working as a stunt double as well. So this guy knows action films. So I think since he's working with The Rock right now with Hobbs and Shaw, I'm hoping maybe The Rock brings him onto this Black Adam movie. I feel like he would do really great, because Deadpool 2, I think, although it wasn't the best movie of 2018, I think it was a pretty solid film nonetheless, right? So I think if Rock has a good relationship with the director, I think he could bring him on to Black Adam. I think that would be really great. But I want to know what you guys think about this story. Are you guys excited for this Black Adam movie to come to life finally? Do you think it's gonna hit that 2020 mark? And who do you want to direct this Black Adam film? And I'm super stoked for Shazam. So much positive news is coming out, so it's really getting me in this like optimistic vibe again. I'm not as cautious as I was before, but it's sounding really promising with all these with these Shazam reactions. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about today is the Trench movie. So basically, James Wan, he wants to make a spin-off from Aquaman for the Trench, and he's going to be producing it, and they just hired a few writers, some newbie writers to write the script. So it's still an idea, and it's gonna sit around the Trench, and it's not gonna feature anyone from the Aquaman movie. So they're gonna try to keep it, I'm assuming they're gonna try to keep it separate from DC. It's just gonna be a purely spin-off horror flick for the Trench. And I think, when I first heard about this story, I thought it was super random and just out of left field. But as I started to think about it more, I started like being more on board with it, and just like accepting it as a pure James Wan horror film. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just the fact that this character is coming from the DC makes it somewhat attached to the DCU. So I think we need to just separate that. It's not a superhero flick. It's just a pure horror film, and what he does best is horror film. So what he does with he's done this before with the Annabelle series. Annabelle is a pure like spin-off from The Conjuring, and so if he could do a successful Annabelle series of films, I think he would do a great job for the Trench. And Trench seems more terrifying than a bunch of dolls. And yeah, I think this works perfectly, because Walter Hamada, the guy that's in charge of the DC films right now, he was the executive producer for the horror films, for Annabelle, Conjuring, It, and the fact that he's using what he's learned in that, you know, in that genre into like the DC stuff, I think is gonna work pretty well. I think he knows which projects to take and which ones to, like, you know, take away. And the fact that, you know, he sees that James Wan is inspired, or, you know, is interested in developing this spin-off story, I think he's just gonna go with it. He's like, yeah, go with it, go. I trust you. You've done great work with Annabelle. Go have fun with The Trench. And I think that is perfect. I think we should just let him be. Let him just be creative. Let him be an artiste. And also, this film won't even have the Justice League budget, so they're gonna ground it, I'm assuming, and I think it's gonna be really cool. And so when this story got posted, James Wan, he actually made a tweet about it, and this is what he said. During the early stages of pre-production, I fell in love with The Trench and its designs, and secretly hoped to explore this world furthermore. Now, I'm not confirming or denying this project. So I think he's pretty hopeful for this project to happen. It's still in early stages. They just hired writers for it. They probably haven't even developed anything on the script, just the concept. So I think it's like a 60-70% chance that it might get made, I feel like, just because, you know, DC does have his priorities, but it's also doing a bunch of random stuff, so it could accept this, you know, when it is ready. It's just depending on how fast they could develop the script and find a director as well. But in the hands of James Wan and Peter Safran, the guy that produced Aquaman, they're both going to be producing this movie. So I think it's going to work really well, and I'm excited to see where James Wan takes The Trench, because The Trench is, if you guys don't know, is a fairly new, you know, character into the DC comics. So I think for James Wan to explore its background story and just you know, just use his horror skill into this movie and his vision, I think it's going to work perfectly. All right, so that is all for what I'm going to talk about today. So now I'm going to jump into the comments and read a few of your comments that you guys have been posting lately. Comment from Jeremy Druin. I apologize if I said your last name wrong, but he said this: Pattinson, nice joke, mate. Ben Barnes, nah, come on. Armie Hammer could do the job. In fact, the part I really loved in the Batfleck movie were done by body double and or stuntman. Like Tarantino said, you don't need a really good actor to do Batman. If the stunt double does a great job and a choreographer knows what he's doing, it's fine. I think he did a lot of typos there, but I get what you're saying. You know, I'm not totally sold on this Pattinson idea, Robert Pattinson playing as Batman. I know we keep talking about it, but I'm not totally sold on it, and I'm not quite sure if he's gonna be Batman. But what you're saying about we don't need a really good actor, I think I'm gonna disagree on you on this one. I think we do need a really good Batman, because he's gonna play Bruce Wayne, and you need a convincing actor to play both Batman or Bruce Wayne, and just switch personalities into that Batman phase. I think you need both, and obviously, you know, the person that's gonna play Batman is not gonna do the stunt doubles or the stunts, and the stunt doubles doesn't matter. They're not gonna talk for the actor. So I do disagree with you. Sorry. All right. So the next comment is from Matt P. He writes, "Let's face it, with the Birds of Prey, they've thrown the source material out of the window entirely, which is precisely my plan for their movie." Yeah, I mean, in terms of Birds of Prey, I mean, I get what you're saying. I see why you feel that way because of, you know, the costumes, but at the same time, I kind of agree with you. I mean, we've never really seen, you know, a full-on Birds of Prey movie, or Birds of Prey team with Harley Quinn. Like, I've never seen that. I mean, I'm not the biggest Birds of Prey fan, but I don't think I've ever seen that with the comics. And it's just, I think making the Birds of Prey movie is just giving WB and DC a reason to do a all-girls team-up movie. And I think that's what they're doing. I think that's what Margot Robbie wants, which is totally fine, as long as it works, as long as the story is believable. I think it works. I'm sure they would bring some inspiration from the source material in the movie. I don't think they're gonna throw everything entirely away, you know, just because they they're ditching the classic comic book costumes. I don't think they're gonna jump the gun and just like make everything their own. I don't think it's gonna be that situation. Yeah, sorry, man. I see what you're getting from. I hear your frustration. I can feel your frustration from your comment. But I think they're gonna take some source materials inspiration into the movie. All right, so the next comment comes from Street Level Arm Wrestling, and he says about the I think I made a video saying which movie would you want Superman to be in, and I said Supergirl, and this is what this guy said. And he could show her where he went wrong in BVS and Man of Steel, a little callback, and letting the fans know he's learned from past mistakes, like destroying towns and cities in his early movies. Seeing it weigh heavily on him, but don't have the whole movie like that. Just show him forgiving himself, because we do. Wow, that's really nice of you. I mean, that's a good little connection. I think, yeah, obviously, if they were to go your theory route, I think they shouldn't spend the entire time Henry Cavill just apologizing. And I think that would be a weird approach for DC. Just, it would pretty much be an apology to the fans and not be a original Supergirl movie with that features Superman. So I like where you're going. I totally agree. I think there should be maybe like 10 minutes or maybe a 5-minute conversation or like a 3-minute conversation just acknowledging that. But besides that, I think they should make their own original movie. Alright, so the next comment comes from Ray Palmer. He says, I don't think we require a costume designer for the Birds of Prey, because in contrast to the Justice League, the group of women called the Birds of Prey don't really have those flashy costumes, even in the comics. And again, it is not like Birds of Prey is going to be like 250 million budget movie, hence they really don't need to make comic accurate costumes. Same goes for Shazam. While I will argue that the Shazam costume is very reminiscent of the animated cartoons, but it's an 80-90 million movie, and costume designer consume a lot of money. Yeah, I totally agree. I think the only flashy costume is Huntress, and I think with Arrow, and I'm believing from based off this movie, I don't think they're gonna fully adapt that really out there costume, the whole purple mask. She basically looks like Hawkeye. So I don't think they're gonna go that route, because that's too flashy and that's too comic-y. I think they're gonna really ground this whole thing up, and I think that's totally fine as long as they have a little hint of their the comic book costumes. I think that would be okay. I'll accept it as long as the story is good, as long as the writing's good. And they make us care for these characters. I think that everything would be okay with me. It would just be a bummer, not seeing, Black Canary wearing the leather jacket with the fishnet pants. I think that would be a huge bummer. But if they were able to find a way to adapt those to make it feel more realistic, I think that'll be okay. So, because they're trying to go with the realistic approach, like what if these guys are in the real world, and I don't think people, I don't think someone is gonna dress up. I mean, we have a Batman, in this universe, so forget what I just said. Anyways, all right. So the next comment comes from Hexam7. He says, if they don't get one into production in the next year and a half, I doubt Cavill will still be on board. But I'm hoping to hear an announcement soon. Also, it would not be called Man of Steel 2, as there's already been a sequel, BVS. Obviously, it wouldn't be called Man of Steel 2. They'll find their own title. I'm just calling it Man of Steel 2 just because it's a sequel to Man of Steel. And I don't think BVS or Batman vs Superman is a sequel. I think it's just a prequel to Justice League. I think it's like Zack Snyder's setup to that. But yeah, I totally agree with you. I think if they don't get into production within the next year, or if we don't hear anything within the next year, I think Cavill's gonna drop the ball on Superman. I mean, you can't be hanging around forever for someone to come back to you. It just doesn't work like that. It would be a shame, but again, they have, I think, I think they're bringing back Avatar after like how many years, right? So it could happen. Even you know, it just depends how patient Cavill is, and he definitely seems like a patient guy. But if I was him, I wouldn't stick around. Yeah, so that's it for the comments. Let me know what you guys think about all this. Are you guys excited for Black Adam? Are you guys excited for the Trench movie if it ever does get made? Let me know in the comments below. Like this video, subscribe to our channel, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.